Welcome to the first episode of You Grow Girl. I'm your host, Stacy C., an educator turned podcast producer whose life experiences, some good and bad, has made me grow. Now, why am I starting this podcast? I've always enjoyed talking with people. I feel like there's always something that you can have in common with others and something that you can share. And I also have a job where I get to talk every day. One of my most favorite things to do is to talk with my students and just have conversations. Conversations about things they like to do. They are always shocked that we have things in common. Maybe you can consider that a gift or a talent. So, when deciding to take this plunge to create this podcast, I was like, why not? Podcasting is talking, almost like you're with people that you enjoy having a conversation with. And throughout my life, I have enjoyed chatting. As a teen, I would talk with my friends all the time. I remember my father would say, all you do is talk on the phone. Those early exchanges were training for my job and this new challenge of podcasting. Also, my life experiences have made me grow in ways I could have never expected. So, let me share a little bit about me. I am a proud mom to an amazing 20-year-old daughter who is a college junior. She is currently majoring in studio arts and is an aspiring digital arts major. I have two younger brothers. They currently reside in North Carolina. And unfortunately, we no longer have our parents. Our mother passed away in 2018 from pancreatic cancer. And our father passed away from liver failure in 2022. When our mom was alive, I would talk with her every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I can say that because my brothers lived in North Carolina, I didn't have to share her. I never grew tired of talking with one of my favorite people. My father would say sometimes jokingly, all you do is talk to your mother and never talk to me as much as you do with her. During those conversations that I had with my mother that I loved, I would learn things sometimes. And those things that I learned, I would call them gems, those life lessons. And those gems I still carry today. Unfortunately, our family also faced another death in between our parents passing away. In 2020, early in the pandemic, my youngest brother buried his eldest daughter. She also succumbed to cancer. Now, I know people lose their loved ones all the time, and you're left to grieve. However, no one tells you how much you would change and grow, and that I did. While grieving my mother, I also learned that a loved one close to me was battling depression. This depression I did not understand, nor did I have much knowledge of it. So, coming to understand depression, I started to learn the characteristics of it, and I also prayed. And throughout this, I changed and I grew. As life continued on, there were celebrations such as graduations, job changes, holidays. I got saved and gave my life to the Lord. And I also had a baptism. And in each of these experiences, I changed and I grew. So why am I podcasting besides enjoying talking to people and sharing my experiences and my growth with others? Well, I believe that we all have our own stories. But the question of what did we learn from those stories should be shared. Your story and growth can help someone else. And that's what I aim to do. So why is this called You Grow Girl? Well, as I stated before, throughout my experiences, I grew. And I consider myself a lifelong learner. So I want to share some of those life gems that my mom, my auntie, my daughter, my best friend, and that many others have shared with me. I also enjoy sharing resources and information. So on this podcast, I'm going to cover various topics. Some things that have affect me personally, and some things that may have not. Some of these topics include grief. Like, I want to explore, how are you grieving? What did it look like for you? How does it look like for children? Because grief looks different in children than it does adults. I also want to talk about various mental health topics. I know, especially being a Black woman and especially being part of Generation X, mental health was not something that was readily talked about in the Black community and in my generation. And I know within these last few years, that has been something that a lot of us have started to explore and discuss. I also want to talk about love and dating, because I can tell you, as a saved woman who's in her mid-40s, dating for me is definitely different in this season than it was when I was younger and not saved. I also want to explore some other topics in health. For instance, diabetes. As a Black woman, and I currently have diabetes, I can tell you that during this experience, I have definitely grown and learned some different things that I need to do better for me. Also, rebuilding your core. I didn't understand and know how important that is to rebuild your core, especially after having a C-section. Your gut health. Gut health was something that I started to learn about and explore after our mother passed away from pancreatic cancer. And I didn't understand how important your gut is to your overall health. And I want to talk about different other topics, some fun topics. Like, I enjoy K-pop. I'm a big fan of BTS. And I also enjoy watching Korean dramas. I also plan to invite people who are very knowledgeable on these various topics. For instance, I may have a guest who is knowledgeable in mental health, a guest who is knowledgeable with grief. I also know someone, and I may have a guest that is a physical therapist who talks about the importance of rebuilding your core and strengthening your pelvic area. I also want to have people like you and I, who are everyday people, who want to share some of their stories in dating, because believe me, the dating pool is something to be talked about and shared. Now, I'll admit that this has been a very scary act to take, and having this podcast. Even the process of recording this first introductory episode has been a process. And in this, I am still learning. So what I did first is I researched how to start a podcast, because with my teacher background, I can't do anything unprepared. And I can say, whenever I've shared that I'm starting a podcast with other people, I have been encouraged. So during Thanksgiving break, I gave myself a date to record this first introductory episode. I also thought about various ideas and topics and a podcast name. My daughter, she designed my podcast logo, and I put my podcast on Spotify. Again, all of this was scary. The time frame I gave myself to record this introductory podcast was during winter break. So it is now winter break, and we are on the date, around the date and time frame that I gave myself to record this first episode. So I'm excited to announce, the day after my youngest brother's birthday, that I will release an episode once a month. And like I said, I will talk with regular people like me who will share their stories and provide valuable information on different topics. This podcast is aimed not only to help me learn and grow, but you as well. Now, I would like to give a special thanks to people in my life who have been very supportive to me, especially in this process. And I would like to thank my daughter, my auntie, my best friend Kenny, and my therapist. Because if you know me, you know that I say I got God and a therapist, and I'm thankful for both. But there have been many, many other people who have been very supportive, and I thank you as well. Now, after All of this that I've explained and I introduced about this new venture that I'm undertaking, if you would like the sound of this and you want to subscribe, please subscribe and follow along to this podcast. The social media platforms will be announced at a later episode. Thanks so much for listening to the introductory episode, and I'll see you on the next episode of You Grow Girl.